Welcome back to halftime, last half hour or last quarter, if you want to use sports terminology, of the show today. Drew Barrett, Matty T, Phil Elson back to the program tomorrow after his week-long hiatus. About to get into college football talk with Bill King. And Bill, first thing that I want to get your opinion on is the proposed merger, potential partnership between the Big 12 and the Pac-12. If there was a true merger and they went to 20, would anybody else in college football, say the Big 10 or the SEC or even the ACC, really be shaking in their boots that this new super conference was going to take over?
It would have zero impact. If you're the Pac-12 and you can't have Texas and Oklahoma and you're going to take the other 8, there is not one impact name that changes your outlook. The only thing you're changing is the number of teams in your league. You're not more attractive. Your games that people want to watch on TV don't become more enticing. You don't have a better chance of winning a national championship in your league. It adds absolutely nothing. And revenue-wise, those two leagues' revenue setup, TV revenue setup, is about the same per year, close to the same. You wouldn't be changing that either.
Yeah.
You'd just be, your gross number would be bigger, and then you would divide by 20, and everybody would either have the same number or maybe less with the new contract.
I mean, it could be less. I mean, we had Bob Bosley come out and say that without Texas OU, they expect that their TV revenue would drop by 50%, which means that 80% of their league, when it was at 10, was worth less than half of it. I mean, that's just outright ridiculous, and it really shows you what they don't bring to the table. So if the Big 12 does fold, I mean, I don't think that without Texas and OU, regardless of when it comes, it won't be considered a Power 5, even if it does stay there. Are we going to then convert to the P4, even if the Big 12 hangs on, or will they still be classified as having somewhat of a seat at the table type of conference?
Probably not. I know the American has been flirting. Obviously, everybody's flirting right now in the Big 12 because you got to. Your financial future is very much in jeopardy. But it may be a situation. You know, the American's a pretty good league, frankly.
Oh, I know.
And at the top, it's real good. They could do worse than that. And, you know, there's a rumor, some guy that was on in Kansas City, who I think is located in San Francisco, and everybody was hitting me up this morning about it, put out that Kansas and the Big Ten were flirting, which I see absolutely no value there at all for the Big Ten because, again, this is a football conversation. You're not bringing Kansas in because the basketball program.
Who's ready for the Kansas-Rutgers matchup?
And, so there's a lot out there. I'll tell you, we do know that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 did meet to the commissioners, and that's smart. I mean, they probably continue to have conversations, and maybe it's some kind of scheduling agreement, which, again, to me wouldn't be attractive, but I think everybody's just trying to figure it out, and they don't really know which direction they're going.
And Washington State's president, Kurt Schultz, was saying that this is bringing the rest of college football together in ways that it never could have done if the SEC wasn't trying to be such a predator and taking everybody's best teams and they're going to figure out a way to stop the big, bad, mean SEC. All that is talk. I mean, there's no absolute weight behind it. I mean,
right.
When you are the big dog and nobody is even close, it's really just a chihuahua barking at a Great Dane at this point.
Here's to give your audience a metaphor or an example. This is the jungle, literally speaking, and you're going to either eat or be eaten. That's where we're at in this deal. And the food is the TV money. This is a grab for as much TV money as we can get our hands on, which is a good idea to bring Oklahoma and Texas in because the estimate, like we talked about, is going to be over $1 billion here in a couple of years when they join, whenever that is. And I don't care. I know we've been friends, other leagues, but your league may die.
Yeah.
And I don't really care. And I won't be going to your funeral either. I'll be counting the money. That's where we're at.
That is where we're at. I mean, it is the survival of the fittest type of mentality. There's money out there. ESPN and some of these other networks are willing to give it, and we're going to get as big of a piece, if not all of it, that we can. And you got to admire Greg Sankey and for having that mentality. And you kind of wonder why these other conferences really haven't had that type of mentality. Maybe they do behind closed doors, and they just can't really seem to talk anybody into coming, but it seems like every other league is since, the first breakup of the Big 12 and realignment of conferences took place over 10 years ago. Everybody else has just been status quo while the SEC has been scheming and making sure that they're going to stay on top.
Good point. So is it a fact that the Big 12 was just not proactive? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's accurate. It may be somewhat because Bob Bowlesby and the rest of that league had no idea this was coming down. So from that angle, maybe not quite proactive. But I don't think there's anything they could do. Let's just say the Big 12 the last 3 years privately has been discussing expansion. Who are you going to get? You're not going to get obviously anybody from the SEC that you would want. No. You're not going to get nobody from the Big Ten. The Big Ten makes double your revenue probably. Mm-hmm. Or Northwestern makes more money than Oklahoma does with league affiliation right now. So West Coast, I don't think Southern Cal's leaving for the Big 12. I don't really know, even if they were proactive, what their real sexy opportunity would be.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and you brought up the American. I love the American as a lifelong and Memphis alumnus. I would love to see Memphis somewhat get into that seat at that table, but that's honestly not going to happen because, frankly, there's just not enough eyeballs, and it's just not at the level that other Power 5 programs are at this point. But when trying to figure. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But they're going to have to figure out a way. And I don't know if Bob Bowlesby is. I don't want to be mean and say not smart enough to figure it out. I just don't know if there is a solution to save the conference that is dying. We're talking all things college football with Bill King. Bill, some actual football news as practice across the SEC and across the country starts this week. Miles Brenden already having surgery this week, saying that it went really well. Is the Miles Brenden experiment time at LSU over? Is this kind of a Felipe Franks type of situation for him and the LSU Tigers?
Wouldn't be surprised. And give him credit. Not that everybody should stay. Some of these transfers, as we know, work out well. Mm-hmm. But he's hung around through, other than Joe Burrow, he's hung around through a lot of bad quarterbacking.
Yeah.
And not really gotten, this last year, but really not gotten probably the reps he thought he would get when he signed there about 4 years ago. Yeah, and it's a left arm. He's a righty, but still, they're saying it's severe, and he may be out for the year. Max Johnson is the better quarterback, regardless. And I know they said it was a competition that would be going on in camp, and I'm sure it was, but he's the better quarterback. They clicked last year when he started in the Florida game and upset Florida. That was by far their biggest win.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to be shocked if Brennan would have won that job. The problem they have now is the thin, and they will either have to go to a player who's never played before or a walk-on. Or, and I was talking to Blake Ruffino about it this morning on the show, or got to remember where we're at now. There's a freebie transfer rule. Now, I don't know. You can't get anybody in now that could play for you, but they're probably actively looking at a walk-on or something because they're low on numbers.
Yeah, where do you think Brenden ultimately would end up? I mean, he's a good quarterback. I wouldn't say that he would have been top echelon of the SEC, but I also don't know if I'd rank him at number 14. And now that you can transfer inside the SEC, does he find a home at another SEC school, or does he go elsewhere?
I don't know where he would fit on any current roster in the league. Now, Vanderbilt is the worst team in the league, but their quarterback's actually good. The freshman who played last year from Texas, he's actually a good player. They actually have a quarterback, but nothing else on the team. So, and I know they have no depth, but I don't know if he has no connection there. But I'm saying any type of legit winner, I don't know where his home would be. It would have to be probably another league where the coach is a quarterback guru and he thinks he could coach him up and get him some stats that last year to make him somewhat attractive to be a free agent or something someday. To me, that would be about it.
Yeah, that probably sounds about right there, Bill. Now, other quarterbacks starting practice this week, and a guy that a lot of people are high on who would rank them at number 1 or number 2, it is Matt Corral, who obviously had a big jump from his first season with Lane Kiffin, then with previous coach whose name is escaping my mind at the University of Mississippi. Does he continue to make progress, and do you think that his numbers even go higher this year?
Lane Kiffin is as good a play caller and quarterback guy as there probably is in the college game. And his numbers were astronomical. Now, he had the one game where he had 6 picks, but his stats were still ridiculous. And that offense is tailored to his skill set. They still have some skill players back on that offensive side of the ball. The Ely kid is an electric player, running back. You can throw it to him. John Rice Plumlee, who at one point was the starting quarterback, is a superior athlete. He'll be one of their feature receivers. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think he can put up this year very similar numbers because that's what that offense is. That offense is made to take a stat sheet and just stuff it to death, right? That's what he'll do.
Bill, real last thing for you before we have to get to break. What are some of the storylines that you're interested in following as we start practice, as we are now officially 1 month away from first Saturday of college football?
Okay. He won't play, but Quinn Ewers just skipped his senior year, and he's heading to Ohio State, number 1 player in the class of 22, and he's already reclassified, and he's going to be up on that depth chart. Now, I think this is an orientation year for him, and he's just going to start cashing his name, image, likeness money. Supposedly, he's got like $1 million already promised to him in name, image, likeness.
That's what's being reported,
Yeah, ridiculous. He's not even going to play his senior year, which he's good enough to do that. He's got power. I'll be watching that, even though I don't think he'll play it all this year unless they have a huge rush of injuries. I'm going to answer your question unlike you thought I would answer the question. I don't pay attention. I'll read all the articles half-heartedly, but first of all, nobody allows any access.
That's true.
So you're not getting any info. Now, if there's a significant injury, you're going to find out about it. That's a note you could make. But for the most part, all these articles are rigged articles that are basically state-run by the sports information department with a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. Frankly, I don't even pay attention.
I honestly, Bill, I don't blame you. It's a lot of hubbubaloo about nothing because you say, oh, well, this guy looked really good. Well, nobody was hitting him. They were in shorts and a helmet. Or man, do you see that catch? Yeah, because there's nobody guarding him. It's practice.
Right.
You know? Like, it doesn't really matter. So I 100% get where you're coming from there, Bill. Bill, I appreciate you joining us. And Phil will be back with me next week, so we'll talk to you then.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good week. That is Bill King on all things college football.